Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
All right, fellas, do you find yourself sucking in your gut sometimes, because we don't want our stomach to poke out. And, we find ourselves buying certain clothes so that our stomach doesn't really show what's really going on. I mean, we've all been there before. We go to the gym and we do that suck in the gut type thing and we walk around a certain way. Man, it's so crazy, the stuff that I see at the gym and the things that I realize that we all do as men. If you watch part 1 of this series on men's health, then you know that we talked a lot about visceral fat. We talked about the gut microbiome. We got into a little bit of science. And that 40-inch waistline is more than just a cosmetic issue, it's more than just a problem. And now you're sitting there thinking like, okay, Oscar, that's great, but what do I have to actually do about it? A whole bunch of background stuff, we can get into. Yeah, we can get into the science and stuff like that. But today I want to be very, very practical. I'm going to share exactly what I did to change my own diet and health, the things that I cut out, the things that I added, and why it wasn't just one big dramatic move that made the difference. It was a collection of smart adjustments done along the way, done consistently over time. And yeah, folks, that was a secret. And it's more durable than you think. So stick around to hear the rest of today's episode if you want to get rid of that gut and get better health. So let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome to the show. This is a safe place where we talk all about real lifestyle changes that actually work. No shame, no judgment, just practical steps. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share this episode with somebody that you know. You can always go to my website and get more information. And as always, you can also email me so that we can keep in contact. Okay, here is part 2 of our men's health series for the month of June. We talked about why your gut health matters way more than most men realize. We covered visceral fat. We dealt with the microbiome. We even dealt with the real connection between your belly and blood sugar. So remember, June is Men's Health Month. This is very important to dial in and tune into these episodes. Now, if you missed part 1, go back and listen to it. That was the foundation of everything that we're about to cover today. So you're here, you're ready to get moving. So let's get cracking. You're in the right place. So, hey, let's talk about it. Okay, for those who are new to this show, I want to speak from the heart and tell you a little bit about my backstory because I want to tell you what I actually did. Again, not anything from a textbook, not something that you're just going to find on Google or whatnot. Now, I'm going to give you some recommendations, of course, that focus on your health. I'm going to talk to you about what I actually did to change my life. When I got serious about my health back in 2020, I didn't follow some of the complicated protocols. I just started asking myself one question every single day. Is what I'm eating right now and doing right now helping me or hurting me? And the answers, I'm telling you, folks, they were very uncomfortable because I love the foods that were actually working against me. Pizza, man, that was my kryptonite. You talking about pizza Thursdays, every pizza Thursday was me eating about 5-6 slices of pizza. And I mean it, fellas, I haven't eaten pizza in about 4 years now. Yeah, I know that's crazy, right? You're probably thinking, okay, Oscar, how do you live? I got a lot more things to do than just think about quitting pizza. It wasn't just about the pizza food. It was actually comfort food. It was a celebration foods. It was the stuff that I was eating every Friday night because I wanted to have a cheat meal. And I had to make a decision about whether I was going to keep feeding that comfort or feeding my health. So I chose my health. Rice was another thing. I grew up eating rice, lots of rice, white rice, yellow rice. It was a part of my heritage, it's a part of my culture. And, that's how it was. So, yes, I love rice. I still love rice. But you know what I had to do? I had to slowly pull back. I didn't eliminate it overnight. I just started eating less and less for a reason. But honestly, I don't miss it in the way that I used to. Soda and sugary drinks, that's one thing that I did end up cutting cold turkey, though. Because early on, I learned what those sugary drinks were doing to my blood sugar. And once I understood that, I couldn't unsee it, folks. I didn't want to just taper off. I just stopped. And I really had to do that when it came to sugary drinks. Because you're talking about waking up, after having a sugary drink the night before and my blood sugar numbers were out of whack. Man, I'm telling you. And talking about being tired, I was tired of feeling sluggish. I was tired of dragging my feet through the day. I wanted more energy even when I was at work or when I was out exercising. I wanted my workouts to be productive and just instead of me just surviving through those workouts. I had acid reflux for a time, folks. And a lot of men deal with acid reflux too and just accept it as a part of life. That was my mindset. I did that too until I changed what I was eating and it all went away. It took some time, not because I took a pill per se, but because I stopped putting things in my body that were causing the problem with acid reflux and other things. I started focusing on my gut health because that was real, folks. It wasn't about taking a whole bunch of supplements, detoxing and going through a detox cleanse. It's making a difference when it comes to the choices that we have every day at the table consistently. Okay, here's the big idea that I want you to walk away with, folks. There's no single food that you need to stop eating or eating that's going to fix your gut health. It doesn't work like that. And there's no single food that you can avoid that would fix all the world's problems that you're dealing with. It doesn't work like that. It's not one food. It's not one physical adjustment that you have to make. It's a collection of adjustments done consistently over time. So this is what moved the needle for me. And that is what is going to help you move the needle in your situation. I know we live in a world where everybody is selling you one thing after the other. That one superfood, that one detox, that one pill that's going to just magically make all the fat go away. That one supplement, folks, that's all marketing. All the stuff that you hear is marketing. And that's the truth. Your gut health got disrupted over years of accumulating bad habits. You're not going to undo those bad habits with just one swap. It doesn't work like that. That's not real. What you're going to have to do is start stacking better choices every day, one on top of the other. That's how that works, folks, until the better choices become the default. So that's the whole game. So let me take a moment to talk about the specific changes that I had to make and that actually made the biggest difference in my life. And I want to explain why each one actually matters. Not just what to do, but why your gut actually responds to it. Now, sugary drinks are one of the first things that I want you to address. If you're still drinking soda, sweet tea, lemonades, juices, or sports drinks on a regular, that's, in my opinion, that's one of the first things that we need to deal with. And I say deal with because for some people, it's a cold turkey situation. For others, it's a slow cutback. Either way, it has to come down. You have to slow down on the soda. And here's why. Sugar feeds the harmful bacteria in your gut. I had to learn this the hard way, folks. The more sugar you're pouring in, the more those bad bacteria actually multiply. That's what they feed on. And as they multiply, they crowd out the good bacteria in your gut. Your gut actually is made up of good bacteria as well. Your gut lining needs more protection. Your blood sugar is going to get harder to manage if you stay locked into drinking soda. That cycle is just going to keep going on and on. Sugar feeds bad gut bacteria. Good bacteria declines. Inflammation rises. And guess what climbs? Your blood sugar. When I cut soda, I didn't just replace it with diet soda. I replaced it with water. And then I eventually had, some sparkling water. My point is give your gut a break from all that sugar. It will respond in a good way. A lot of people focus on what they're trying to cut out or what they need to cut out. And I get it. That was my mentality. And there are going to be some things that I recommend that you cut out. But what you add is just as important as what you eliminate. Vegetables are non-negotiable for me right now. I eat them every single day. Not because I'm on some special diet. I really don't believe in dieting. I believe in lifestyle modifications. I believe in lifestyle choices when it comes to our eating, because vegetables feed the good bacteria in your gut. So I make that a part of my lifestyle. The fiber in vegetables is what's gonna feed your good bacteria as well. When they eat well, they thrive. When they thrive, your gut lining stays healthier. When your gut lining is healthy, folks, your body manages blood sugar much, much better. So focus on your fiber. Get that from your vegetables, not just in some protein bar or fiber bar or whatever. Feed your gut. You don't have to go and get a salad every day. I'm not talking about eating rabbit food every day. Just get more vegetables on your plate every single day, folks. That one habit alone makes a real difference. Trust me. Now, what about fried foods and your gut? You know what? Fried foods is rough on your digestive system. I learned that the hard way. Talking about acid reflux, heartburn, all that stuff, all the oils used in frying, especially when they're used and reused in high heat, that just makes things worse. They slow down your digestion. They increase your inflammation. And for men who are already dealing with blood sugar issues, high cholesterol, that inflammation is going to make everything even harder. I cut fried foods out of my regular diet. It wasn't a punishment. I wasn't trying to beat myself up. No, because I understood what they were doing. And I didn't want that same thing to keep happening anymore. Your perspective has to shift when it comes to a food. Now, what about bread, rice, pasta? My thought on that is, it's important for us to reduce that. Again, I'm not trying to tell you just to go on a strict elimination diet. No, I still eat rice sometimes. I eat bread on occasion, because I went from eating it almost every day to eating it occasionally. Folks, the reason is simple. These are refined carbohydrates, and refined carbohydrates break down quickly into sugar in your body. Now, listen, that quick blood sugar spike that your body is experiencing, imagine that happening over time. Those repeated spikes wear out your body's ability to manage blood sugar more effectively. So reducing those things doesn't mean you're eliminating them forever. You need to give your body a chance to reset. It means making them a smaller part of your plate instead of the centerpiece. What are we reducing? The white rice, the white bread, the pasta. Increase your vegetables, increase your lean proteins, increase your fiber, increase whole foods. And what about adding fermented foods? Your gut needs good bacteria. And one of the best ways to bring good bacteria in is through fermented foods. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about like plain yogurt, some kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi. There's a whole list of things that you can find. These foods contain live cultures that support your gut health. You don't need to eat a whole bunch of them. Pick one or two that you can tolerate and make them part of your regular diet. Plain yogurt with no sugar added is one of the easiest starting points, folks. Now, here's one of my favorite things is drinking water. This one sounds real simple. I know, I get it, because most men are walking around right now chronically dehydrated. And you wonder why your digestion is out of whack sometimes, and you have slow digestion, constipation, and, just having some other things going on. Well, your goal is to drink enough water daily so that your urine is clear and being healthy. So let me reemphasize this. Dehydration slows down digestion. It causes constipation and makes it harder for your gut to do its job. Your goal is to drink enough water daily that your urine is light and yellow to basically clear. That's your gut's version of a green light. We need to be in the green light zone. Now, I talked a little bit about the cycle before, and I want you to really focus in here. Okay, so here's what happens when your old habits stay in place. You eat processed foods, refined carbs, fried foods, and you drink sugary drinks. Your bad gut bacteria actually multiply. Your gut lining gets inflamed, like we talked about before. Your blood sugar gets harder to control. You feel sluggish and you feel tired all the time. I mean, I got tired of being tired. I told you all that before. You reach for comfort food and to feel better, but you actually don't feel better. And the cycle just keeps going on and on and on. It's the poor choices in food. The bad bacteria multiply. Inflammation increases. Blood sugar spikes. You feel fatigue. And then you make more and more bad or not so good food choices. Okay, what happens when you start making the adjustments we talked about? The cycle can run in the other direction. Better food choices feed better bacteria. Better bacteria reduces inflammation. Wow. Lower inflammation means better blood sugar responses. Better blood sugar means more stable energy. And if you're on meds, I know some of y'all, you want to get off meds. And guess what? You can do that by improving your health. You want more energy? Yeah, we want to get you to that place where you have more stable energy. And that's a cycle that can work for you instead of working against you. That's the good news, folks. When I was in the hospital in August 2020 and I was 268 pounds, newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I remember sitting by the window and looking out the window. I just started thinking about my health. And I remember looking down at my stomach and I was like, man, my stomach has gotten big, and I could have beat myself up. And to be honest, I did for a little bit. I was like, man, how did you let yourself get here? It was a scary situation. And I didn't have a lot of energy that weekend. I remember going into the hospital just sluggish, man, and learning that I had type 2 diabetes in the hospital. So yeah, sitting down in the hospital, I didn't think back then that one day I would be starting a podcast to help people overcome their challenges with type 2 diabetes. That wasn't on my mind. That was the furthest thing that was on my mind. I wanted to live, folks. I had friends who had passed away from type 2 diabetes. And mind you, when I was in the hospital going through my health scare, this was in the height of COVID. And there were people not coming home, especially people with type 2 diabetes, because there was some other complications surrounding that. So, a lot of that stuff was on my mind, but I'm glad that those days that I spent in the hospital, I'm glad for the opportunity that those days gave me to really think about what I was going to do with the rest of my life, And so I don't know where you are in your health. I don't know where you are in your situation, but I will tell you this, that there is good news. I don't know where you are with your gut health. I don't know where you are with your eye health, your kidneys and whatnot. But I want you to hear this very clearly. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. What are you going to do with it? We're talking about men's health and we're talking about your gut. Your gut can respond and improve. I'm not talking about improving in years. I'm talking about research is showing that meaningful changes in your gut health can begin showing up within weeks of you consistently being on top of your dietary changes. Folks, listen, I'm talking about in a few weeks. That's not a long time. You don't have to be perfect to start seeing results. You just have to be consistent. Missing one meal isn't the problem. The pattern over weeks and months and even years is what matters. I didn't change everything overnight. I cut soda first, yeah. Then I worked on the fried foods. Then I focused on getting my vegetables every day. Then I worked on pulling back on the rice and the breads and the pasta. It was one change built on top of the last one. And slowly, you know what, folks, everything started shifting. I started reading more. I started educating myself more. I started implementing things. The sluggishness, it went away. My energy started coming back. Acid reflux, gone. The weight started coming down. I lost over 84 pounds in less than a year the right way. And my gut health improved right along with everything. That's also available to you. I'm not making some lofty promises. I'm just telling you what I did to turn things around in my life. So why not give it an opportunity? Why not give yourself a fighting chance? And here's what I want you to start. Not all of this at once. I need you to pick one or two things from this list today and commit them for the next month or so. And then start adding things to it. Start stacking your changes so you can see results. So step number 1, cut the sugary drinks. You have to, fellas. This is the highest leverage move that you can make. Soda, sweet tea, lemonades, your fruit juices, your sports drinks. They're full of so much sugar. You don't need them. Cut them and cut them way back. Replace them with water first now. I'm not just talking about eliminating without replacement. Now, that was step 1. Step 2, get your vegetables on your plate every day. I mean, every single day. Not just on the weekends when you go out with the family. No, every day. And listen, fellas, I'm not talking about when you feel like it. Get it in. Get your vegetables every day. Even if it's just a side of broccoli or a handful of spinach, get it in. It's important. Remember, step 2, get your vegetables every day. That's non-negotiable. Now, step number 3, I need you to go ahead and start pulling back on the fried foods. And I'm serious about that. You don't have to be perfect. But if you're eating fried foods multiple times a week, that's worth addressing. We got to deal with that. Start by cutting 1 fried meal per week. You have to do this, folks. The fried foods, I know you like it, but it's not helping you. Progress, not perfection. But we got to start somewhere. Why not start now? Again, reduce the fried foods. That's your step 3. Start by cutting once a week. Now, step number 4, reduce refined carbs. I'm talking about your rice, bread, your pasta. You don't have to eliminate them all at once, but start shrinking down your portions, folks. Make vegetables that centerpiece and move the rice and bread in the same direction. Give them a smaller roll. No pun intended. Give that roll that you like to eat a smaller roll in your diet. All right. Now, step number 5, try fermented foods. Remember, I talked about plain yogurt, some kefir, sauerkraut. Pick one and add it in. That's all you have to do. Give your gut some good bacteria to work with. You could Google all of this, research it for yourself, and get more information. Come up with a nice meal plan of something that you like, things that you like. Now let's go on to step number 6. Drink more water. That's another non-negotiable. That's simple, it's consistent, and I'm talking about daily. Those headaches that you're dealing with, it could be because you're dehydrated. Make that a habit. Drinking water every day. Make that non-negotiable. Make it daily. Make it consistently. So, gentlemen, this is what it looks like in real life. It's not complicated. It's not extreme. It's just honest. It's consistent adjustments that we need to put in place and to make sure that our plates are healthy. What's wrong with that? Yeah, kryptonite, pizza. That was my kryptonite. Soda on a daily basis. Yeah, that was an issue that I had to deal with. Rice was raising my blood sugar. What is it doing to your body? So I had to let them go, folks. It wasn't some superhuman thing that I had to do because, to be honest, I finally understood that they were doing some things in my body that were not good. And I wanted to feel better and I wanted to feel more energetic. So I had to get rid of the old habits. Want more energy? Change what you're eating. You want your gut health to be improved? Instead of your gut working against you, change what you eat. You want to give your blood sugar a real fighting chance? What do you have to do? Change what you eat. So it's not just one change. It's a collection of adjustments done consistently over time. And that's the whole thing. So I need you to lock in. I need you to stay tuned because we're not done with the Men's Health Month this month. We've got a whole bunch more to talk about that's going to work for you. So I need you to lock in. I need you to tell somebody. If you're a lady watching this and you want to help the men in your life to improve their health, whether it's your dad, your sons, your husbands, your uncles, share this episode with those men in your life. The ones who need to hear it, but maybe they never take the time to look it up for themselves. You know what? Like I said, you can always find everything on my website at beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. Now, let's get out there and put all this stuff into action. And as always, my friends, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.